Hey, have you ever really stopped to think about what it takes to move? I mean, really think about it? That simple act of just lifting your coffee cup, or the insane coordination it takes to go for a run. It's all powered by this incredible biological machine. So today, we're going to go on a journey deep inside that machine and uncover the microscopic magic behind literally every single move you make.
It all really boils down to this question that sounds so simple but is actually fantastically complex. How does a simple thought, an intention like, hey, I'm going to pick up that book, actually become a physical, coordinated action? That right there, that's the puzzle we're going to piece together today. All right, so first things first, we throw around the words movement and locomotion like they're the exact same thing, right? But, in the world of biology, there is a super important difference between them. So, locomotion. It's all about getting from point A to point B. It's that simple. Think about walking, running, swimming, basically any voluntary action that actually changes your location. You could almost think of it as, well, it's movement with a destination. Okay, so here's the key idea, the one thing to remember. All locomotion is movement, but not all movement is locomotion. Think about it for a second. You can tap your fingers on your desk, right? Or nod your head. You're definitely moving, but you haven't actually gone anywhere. That's just movement. But the second you stand up and walk across the room, boom, that's locomotion. So, what's powering all this activity? Well, it's the engine of our body, our muscles. Let's pop the hood and take a closer look, shall we? I mean, just think about the sheer scale of this for a second. For an average adult, muscle tissue makes up 40 to 50% of their total body weight. Let that sink in. Almost half of you is pure engine, just a massive amount of tissue dedicated to one primary job, creating force. Now, of course, not all muscle is the same. We've actually got 3 different types. There's visceral, or smooth muscle. That's the stuff working involuntarily inside our organs. Then there's cardiac muscle, which is that unique, tireless workhorse in our heart. But the real star of our show today is skeletal muscle. Why? Because it's attached to our bones and it's the only type that's under our direct, conscious control. And this is where the real magic happens. We are about to go on a journey, zooming way in, past what the naked eye can see, from a whole muscle, all the way down to the microscopic machinery that actually makes you move. Okay, so picture a single muscle, like a massive electrical cable. If you cut it open, you'd see it's made of smaller bundles of wires, right? Each of those bundles is called a fascicle. And inside each fascicle, even smaller wires. Those are the individual muscle fibers. It's this brilliant nested design that gives muscles both their incredible strength and their superfine control. But we can go even deeper. Let's zoom in on just one of those muscle fibers. Inside, you'd find thousands of even tinier parallel threads. These are called myofibrils. So, to stick with our analogy, if the muscle fiber is a wire, the myofibrils are the tiny copper filaments inside that wire. Now we're getting right down to the source of the power. Okay, now if we look even closer at a single myofibril, what do we see? We see this incredible striped pattern of light and dark bands. And let me tell you, this is not just for decoration. This is the machinery itself. Every single one of these repeating sections, from one dark line to the next, has a name, the sarcomere. And this tiny little unit, it is the absolute key to everything. So I really want you to let this sink in. The sarcomere is the fundamental engine of contraction. It's the smallest possible piece of the muscle that actually does the work. The next time you decide to lift something, just imagine, it's literally trillions of these microscopic engines all shortening at the exact same time to generate the force you need. How cool is that? So, how does this tiny little engine actually work? Well, it all comes down to an interaction between 2 main characters, 2 key protein filaments. First, we have the thin filaments, and they're called actin. And then we have the thick filaments, called myosin. And believe it or not, the relationship between these 2, that's the entire story of how a muscle contracts. All right, so how do these 2 proteins, actin and myosin, actually create force? The answer is this beautifully elegant idea that totally revolutionized biology. It's called the sliding filament theory. And the core idea is surprisingly simple. The filaments themselves, they don't actually shrink or get shorter. That's not what happens. Instead, the thin actin filaments are pulled inward, literally sliding over the thick myosin filaments. And this action pulls the ends of the sarcomere closer together, kind of like how you'd collapse a telescope. It's not shrinking, it's sliding. So what actually makes them slide? Well, it's this super fast 5-step chemical dance. First, a signal zips down from your nervous system. That signal triggers the release of calcium ions. Now think of calcium as the key. It unlocks the active sites on the actin filament. The moment they're unlocked, the myosin heads grab on, forming what we call a cross bridge. And then, this is the power stroke, the myosin head pivots, pulling the actin filament inward. It's just a constant lightning-fast cycle of bind, pull, release, repeat. And right here, you can see the result perfectly. On the left, you've got a relaxed sarcomere. See that clear gap between the thin filaments? Now look at the right. That one's contracted. Notice how those thin filaments have been pulled inward and they're overlapping a whole lot more? Now, multiply that one tiny contraction by trillions, and that, my friends, is the sliding filament theory in action. That is the source of all your strength. Okay, so we've figured out how muscles create force, but here's the thing. Force is totally useless without a structure to act on, right? So it's time to zoom back out from that microscopic world and connect our muscle engine to the body's framework, our bones and joints.
The adult human skeleton, it's an absolute masterpiece of biological engineering. We're talking 206 individual bones. And this incredible framework does a few things. It gives us structure, it protects our organs, and, most importantly for our story today, it creates the system of levers that our muscles pull on to actually create movement.
You can basically divide our skeleton into two main parts. First, there's the central core, the axial skeleton. This is your skull, your vertebral column, and your rib cage. Its main job? Protection. It shields all our most vital organs, your brain, heart, and lungs. And it gives us a stable trunk for our arms and legs to attach to.
But wait a second. Bones are rigid. So how in the world do we bend, twist, and turn? Well, the answer is our joints. A joint is simply any point where two bones meet, and it acts like a pivot point or a fulcrum. So you've got this system. The muscle provides the force, the bone is the lever, and the joint is the pivot that makes all this amazing movement possible. And what's amazing is the variety of joints our body uses, each one perfectly designed for a specific job. You've got the ball and socket joint in your shoulder, right? That gives you that huge range of motion. Then there's the simple but super powerful hinge joint in your knee, or the pivot joint in your neck that lets you shake your head no. Every single one is a perfectly designed tool for a specific type of movement.
And, because this whole system is so complex, it really highlights how crucial it is for every single part to work correctly. When things go wrong, we see disorders like arthritis, that painful inflammation in the joints, or something like muscular dystrophy, which is a tragic degeneration of the muscle tissue itself. It's a pretty powerful reminder of just how vital and sometimes fragile this incredible machine really is.
So think about the journey we just took. We went from a simple thought all the way down to the molecular dance of actin and myosin, and then zoomed all the way back out to the grand architecture of our bones and joints. It's this incredibly coordinated symphony happening inside you every second of every day. Which leaves me with just one final question for you. The next time you take a simple step, will you think about the trillions of tiny engines sliding in perfect harmony just to make it all happen?